One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that we're all created equal, but that's not how it seems. Well, Billy's got a vision that's few and far between. Come on! March 26, 2005 was the first time deep inside I really felt alive when I held you in my arms and I looked into your eyes. Being there for you in life, there's no doubt in my mind. I always wanted a family and to do what's right. I never would have imagined that my kids would pay the price. Too many sleepless nights, well I guess that's life. So if you're a real man who ain't afraid to fight, join hands with me and stand up for father's rights. Law-abiding citizen, yeah that was me. In 2006 I got swept off my feet. Rubbed through the system with no freedom and no speech. I got me a voice now, so now I'm here to teach. No more four walls, God led me to the streets. Son, it's time to preach. At first you gotta believe the truth will prevail, not only through your speech. Come on.
Tonight about a father under the custody of his daughter. Today, Lucas Kirkland and other dads went over for father's rights. Earlier this month, we told you we're going to story a judge ordered him to hand his daughter over to her mother for unsupervised visits, even though he convicted of child abuse. Last September, a driver found Kirkland's 3-year-old daughter along the road near a Arapaho breakfast. Her mother was so drunk she had passed out in the ground. Kirkland doesn't understand why she still allowed unsupervised visits after putting their daughter in danger.
What did you know about protesting all alone for your son? Till you finally get the story heard by Fox 31. Now look at how far I've come. Deadbeat dad, nah, I ain't the one. Lawyer after lawyer, judge after judge, and you wonder why we're pissed off and hold a grudge, alienate us from our kids. And yeah, that's a fact. Well, this is what happens to real dads flashback. 68 times in court in 1 year. So if you walked in my shoes and we shed the same tears, face the same fears, now I see it's clear. You don't have to do it alone, man. We all here. Every child needs both parents. Why that's so hard to see? Take yourself out of the equation. It ain't about you and me. So if you're a real man who ain't afraid to fight, join hands with me and stand up for father's rights. Come on! This is the hardest decision that I've ever had to make. To give up all rights or just leave it up to fate. In this woman's state, how much more can we fucking take? Feels like the last supper, but I still have.
Can you guys hear me? Alright. I'm unmuted on Zoom.
Okay, so we're unmuted on and it is titled The Battle. Everybody say hello, and Philly, say hello to everybody on Future of Our Children Radio Network.
How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you so much for having me on.
And folks, I'm telling you, sometimes there's always something that goes on anytime you're using technology. And I do like the fact that this is video based, because people love to see what's really going on and see what the people are saying, see they're real. There are a lot of people in this thing that are not real, and just to tell you how this all came to be, it happened because the other day I get a phone call, and it was from Philly Slim. And I know that Yaya has done a show with him prior to this, and he's been involved in several marches. He is 11 years the warrior in this thing. And he has seen pretty much everything they can throw at you. And he contacted me because there's a couple of things that we've done, and some of you will know about. And it's the FERPA issues of getting records. This is a man who actually went to a school to get records and ended up being arrested. Now, I know that there are people out there that think they can't do that. There's two things that people say, and it really makes me nuts, and it's when people say, well, he must have done something. They don't just take your kids for nothing. That one drives me crazy. You don't have to have done anything, folks. You don't. You can just show up, be a parent, and you're in trouble for being a parent. And especially if you speak out or be vocal, it's going to be worse. The other thing that drives me nuts is when people say, well, they can't do that. Oh, they can do that. They will ask me, well, Randy, can they do that? Yeah, they can do anything that they want to do. You got to look at it like they are monarchs. They are dictators over you, and they will do as they please. They cannot legally do anything that they want, but they can do anything that they want. So that being said, the issue at hand right now involves Colorado, and that's where Philly Slim is from, and that's where his child is. And we want to be able to get the records, and the records will open up another facet of information. Anytime you can get intel on the opposing side, it helps you. There's a total now of 14 children that are back home simply because of school records. This never could have happened before. Cheyenne Davis, my daughter, we fought this thing for 2.5 years and won the only FERPA battle ever. Now it's with the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice has already said that our civil rights were violated based on education and due to race, because we're Croatan Indians. Well, that is an even bigger deal because recently there was another case here. I don't want to give the lady's name, but I want to tell you because it will revolve around exactly what Philly's going through in Colorado, and some of you are going through right here in North Carolina. Jennifer Yagoda, for example. There's a case that the lady had 3 charges against her. Her ex was being vindicted, very much like what Philly Slim is up against. Well, whenever she came with us to Raleigh and court watched with us, we went over some things. She went back, and she has fought hard. All 3 of her charges were dropped. Her children were returned to her. So now it's every week, how would you say, it's joint custody. But even that's about to get better. The judge, interestingly, is about to retire. This is important because the judge explained to Laura, just as if he would have been talking to Philly, and he said, ma'am, I am not only dismissing the cases against you, but under no circumstance am I giving you legal advice from the bench, because that wouldn't be legal or appropriate. He said, but I'm going to cite laws to you. And he said, and you need to sue the school, and you need to sue them under North Carolina Chapter 50, 13.2. And he then continued on and wrote a criminal contempt order for her husband. This was 3 weeks ago. And put the man in criminal contempt and fined him for attempting to interfere with her getting school records. He said, I've warned these schools. They do not listen, and they think they're all powerful, but somebody's got to start suing them. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be, in the child welfare laws in Colorado that Philly's dealing with, and wherever you are out there in the world, whoever's listening, there's going to be another situation or another law tied in, because these laws have a way of, they have to mimic the federal law. And if they don't comply with the federal law, all of that funding gets cut off. So there will be one in there, and that's what I've been attempting to try and find. And this week I'll find it for Philly Slim. And I will guarantee 100% he ends up with all the records. Nobody ever can guarantee you anything in family court, but this one works 100% of the time. It's quick in comparison to every other thing. The most it can take is 45 days of wait time. Generally, they cough up the records in no time. And just being able to know what's going on in there is what it's all about. So that being said, anyone that wants to get in touch with me, just like I help in Philly, I will help anybody. I've also posted our own PDF files of the correspondence with our real information in it, nothing redacted, because I want to see this be over. This thing of family court interfering and destroying children's lives is sickening. Every time that I've seen this happen, I've watched good parents and good children basically turned into zombies. They either go into fetal positions, or they turn into too hard of a warrior and fall over the deep edge and run, or for whatever reason they just give up. And some, like Dominic Tomasello, are not here anymore. That's what I don't want to see happen anymore. And it's not a matter of all of these people are evil. They're not. But when you're looking at cases like we are right now with the 3-year-old little girl, Mariah Woods, here in North Carolina, DSS placed that little girl, and she was crippled. She was handicapped in one of her legs. Placed her right there along with her brother, with her mother. And the father said no. That little baby was just found by the Fayetteville dive team in the bottom of the river. Now, 3 years old, DSS failed. Another child, Shania Davis, Cumberland County. They have taken 8 years to decide why she died. So I'm not saying these things to scare people. I'm not. But these things are serious life and death issues, and it's going to take all of us of every walk of life in order to bring this down. And I want to teach as much as I can and spread the word as hard as I can, that a way to make parents be porcupines instead of sheep. They'll grab a sheep, but they can't grab porcupines forever. And I think Philly Slim is a good example here. This is a guy who's well known. He has millions of followers. He has resources most of us do not have, and yet they have no problem whatsoever coming at him. They have no problem with violating his constitutional rights to be a dad. And why is it that people feel they can get away with this? And the simple reason is because they've always gotten away with it. And as long as we let them do that, that's what's going to happen. So that's my little 10-minute intro to the thing. And with that said, I'm going to ask Philly Slim where he wants to go with this thing, and that's where we go to. So, Philly, the floor is yours, my brother.
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you, Randy and Ted. I mean, it's always an honor. I do want to say this is a lot of us out there have a lot of egos and different things going on, but what at the end of the day, what brought us all together is pain, right? I mean, we can all agree with that. We've all been through some form of pain, and I think when you start knowing who you are as a person and start grounding yourself and humbling yourself, as far as that direction, I have a lot of people that are, hooked on drugs and amphetamines, and they come to me and say, Philly, man, help me get my kids. And I'm just at the point now starting my battle back up after 11 years to where I'm really honing in on it and focusing on my life and what's going on. And I say to them, man, I mean, if I can't help me right now, I can't see projecting that out. I just, I don't know. The answer is do your research and educate yourself, and that's not always the best answer either, because you look at folks like you mentioned, Dominic Monticello. When you start to research something so much, it overwhelms you and it becomes you, and you realize that and I've done the same thing. I'm sure all of us parents have hit some form of depression, and when you hit that depression, you're like, I'm up against such an enormous force that has what resources I don't have, Randy. Resources that someday I'm hoping that we will all have, so that I can use my resources to be able to make this a better thing. I mean, we talk about the feminist rallies, but what do the feminists have that us fathers don't have? They have backing. They have money. That's what this game is about. That's what my whole Stop the War on Children's campaign was instead of let's buy a seat at the poker table. If we all chip in $1 and $6 million with 6 million views and everybody donates $1, what happens? It not only from an internet standpoint, it shows an epidemic. It shows a red dot. Like that woman who she did a campaign and invited everybody to her wedding, and little did she know she was going to have 2.3 million people show up to her wedding. Why is that?
Wow.
Because once it takes off, it spreads like wildfire. You know what I mean? And it's just nobody's got the best idea, but we all need to put our money together. We all need to educate ourselves, but know yourself first before you start educating yourself. Because what happens is if you don't know you fall into that depression, and I like to call that like right around year 2 and year 3. Year 2 and year 3 that you're into your battle, that's the kind of stuff that happens, and you develop a depression, you get to that point where you're like, I can't beat this. And once those words come out of your mouth and you speak that into existence, you're pretty much done. And I talk a lot about that as far as don't be afraid to spend 3 hots in a cot. Don't be afraid to go to jail for a couple of days. It gives you that, not only that, you come out of there and you have that fight. You have that fight in you that's like, you know what, I got to stand up for this because this isn't right. And I get the same type of people, Randy, like you do, people that are wanting my help but don't want to do the research. They're like, I haven't found a single father's rights organization in California yet. And I said, try GOOGLE. And then they're like, you're an asshole. And I'm like, no, I'm an asshole because you want me to do it for you. And that's not what life's about. In order to appreciate the journey, you have to go through it. And unfortunately, we all have to go through that, the good and the bad, and just trying to really focus and stay positive in life, and that you can accomplish anything that you put your mind to. And I get frustrated too, like everybody, but then I look at the pain and people like you, Randy and Ted, and everybody that takes time out. A lot of people are like, hey man, Philly, why didn't you share my stuff? Well, when you show love, you receive love, and we teach that to our children. Like the worst thing I was taught, and a lot of people were taught, and I said this on Tim ScoMo's, and I say this a lot, is that the number one thing you were taught was as a kid was to what? Was to walk away, be the bigger man, walk away. That has been enabling you for your whole life. And I'm not going to curse this whole program just to prove a point, but that is those words right there is what enabled you your whole life. And if you think about it, how many of your parents told you that? Oh, just walk away. Walk away. Be the bigger man. The bigger man walks away. The bigger man does not walk away. The bigger man stands up there and learns how to articulate himself the right way to get out of that situation. You know what I mean? Like he says in Roadhouse, when they act aggressive, you act meek. It's playing your opponent for what it is. And once you know your opponent and you know yourself, it's as simple as that.
It is. And guys, I'm telling you something, Philly has hit on something here that nobody really wants to say. Now, Neil Shelton and we came to this decision a long time ago. And it was, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I can tell you, I got into this thing and there were some folks that they were very well-meaning, and they cost me about 3 weeks in the beginning because I was waiting for them to show up. They were the cavalry. And they didn't intentionally steer me wrong, but they cost me some of the most valuable time. Those first 3 weeks, if you don't know what you're doing right there, you can mess yourself up and cost yourself years because you started out bad. And those same people now ask me for help. And I give it to them because they gave me what they felt was the very best then. And I'm sure we've all seen that, because you are hurting so bad, you'll reach out and you will grab on to foolish stuff. You will start doing crazy things that don't even make sense in the legal system. And these people are, some of them, charging. And they're out here doing these shows and things about, you got to do this and use a golden ticket that. And I'm telling you, it'll put your rear end in jail. I'll go to jail for the right thing, but I'm not going to be silly and just donate myself into jail for absolutely no reason. And Philly was right. I'm going to tell you, as a matter of fact, if you haven't been to jail yet, you haven't fought. I'm just going to tell you, you may think you have fought, but everybody wants to be a warrior until it's time for somebody to get bloody and beat up. And when they pull you over, when they look at you, when they threaten you, when they take you, and I just posted a video today nobody's ever seen, and it was me in shackles. I mean, when I say shackles, that came out of the Sampson County Courthouse. There's chain around me. There's chain between my hands. There's a chain on my legs, and the two chains are held together. I'm walking out of this place being put back into a van. Why? Because every 2 weeks they took me out of jail, took me over there, and said, you're going to tell now or we're going to put you back. And I told them, shove it up your rear end and put me back. You know what? And away they went. Peanut butter and jelly. 5 months, every single day. Learn to play dominoes. Learn to play chess. Already knew how to play checkers. Learned how to make money on ramen noodles, Snickers bars, jalapeno pretzel pieces. That was a big one in there. God knows you can make some money with them things. And instant coffee. I was selling instant little cups of little coffee in there. So, you know what they did? And I think Philly and some of the others would tell you, Neil Shelton would. And once you've been in there, I'm not saying it's fun. It's like a hot shower. Once you've been in it for a while, it ain't so hot no more. But once you've been in there, that whole stigma of, God, I don't want to go to jail, it flies right out the window. You realize it really is not that bad. You don't want to be in there. But they took away the fear of me being in there. And right now, for the right reason, and there's one here with 2 little twin girls in North Carolina where they're in danger right now because of the court system. And it's family court and DSS both together. And you know what? I'm probably going to go to jail over that case. But I'll do it. It does not matter. There's some things it doesn't matter. I don't have a dog in the fight now. My daughter is free from this thing. She's over 18. So why would I be here? I'm not asking anybody for anything. It takes time, just like it does Philly's here. You don't think that somebody like Philly or Yaya McClain or Ted, you don't think these guys got something better to do than to be all over here trying to show how to beat a court system that most people don't even know exists? We all have things we'd rather be doing. But you know what? I don't want to be on my deathbed or in the rocking chair on the porch one day and look back and say, you know, I sure am glad I spent more time playing poker with the boys or whacking around with the nuts around the corner over there and hanging out BSing, and I let all these kids down. And all these families were torn apart. And you know what happens, folks? I had never seen these stats until this week. And Leslyn Davis sent them out there, and there were two graphics that scared me. And it was that of the incarcerated, 70% of them had grew up in foster care or through the court system. And 80% of the death row were the same thing. And what does that tell you? The court system is not working. If there's any way to avoid it, believe me, that's what should happen. But once you're in it, you're in it. And you've got to find out any little way to get an edge, to get more information. That's what Philly's after right now. He wants to get any little edge that will open it up. And you've got to keep your mind open, because you can have the best attorney in the world, but he will sell you out in that courtroom. That is the absolute truth. You don't get your honey where you get your money. So they are not going to mess around where they get paid. That is like a printing press in there for an attorney. And if you go in there and expect they're going to help you out by destroying their ability to make money, you have lost your mind. And if you do have one, that's great. But know the laws and understand whether he's telling you the truth or not, or she's telling you the truth or not. And then press your rights on every level. Expect them to retaliate, some like Philly said,
right.
And be willing to put your skin in the game. I mean, if it happens, it just happens. But that's how I see it. So yeah, I'm 100% with Philly on this. Go right ahead.
The thing is, Randy, too, is when you don't know yourself, you don't know how to act, and we're all emotionally involved. And I mean, so when you're talking about your child and your life, like I said, it was so wonderful to be in the meetings with Mark Ludwig in D.C. for the D.C. Million Parent March. It was an honor, and Mark and I talk all the time. And when I spoke with Mr. Ludwig, and I'm like, look, we've had meetings, and I said, my one thing, I said, I don't belong there. I don't belong in that situation. I'm not a stockbroker. I'm not going to pretend to be one and study books and read. Sure, I want to, move forward in knowledge and evolve, but at the same time, I'm not going to be a stockbroker tomorrow. You're not going to be a lawyer tomorrow. I studied and got my paralegal certificate while I was locked up in 5 different counties for the same thing over a stint of 6 years. So eventually, while you're in there, I'm going to, and you're talking to a dude who didn't graduate high school, but to go on and get some of the accolades that I've had. It's just crazy to realize that when people start becoming themselves, just be you. Get in there, and my number one thing is to get in there and play stupid and articulate yourself the right way. So when they say, do you have anything to say? You say, yeah, I have something to say, and it's taken like a misdirection course almost, which my 12-year-old son threw back at me. So I had to, drum it up. It's the first time that's ever happened in his and I's relationship. But I always tell people, play dumb, so when they ask you, would you like to say something, like, yeah. And then you play dumb and say, well, hold on. So what you're telling me is I'm holding her in contempt of court. I have 8 hours a week, and now you're telling me that it's more beneficial and in the best interest of our child for me to go down to 8 hours every week, every other week, 16 hours a month. So it's just, you're not playing dumb. You're outsmarting them in a sense. So if you don't understand something, you articulate your way to make them explain it to you. It's like Carl Wentz says, make that courtroom your courtroom. It's your courtroom. So when Mark and I were in D.C., I said, this isn't my place. I just want to sit here and watch. I want that knowledge of knowing what these secret handshaking fuckers, pardon my language, I said I wasn't going to curse. I apologize. But I'm getting frustrated because that's what it is. I want to see what these people are doing. I want to see what these people are doing. You know, it's like it's almost like how do I express it? It's almost running like Cash Jackson. Like Cash Jackson is running for Illinois governor, but he's not in the state to be able to make it. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I wear black and you wear red, but I'm going to try to come over and take over your red. And it's almost next to impossible if we don't keep continuing to build us as individuals and keep pushing the message out here. And like you said earlier, Andy, with having the time, look at what we're all doing. Yeah, we could be doing something completely better. I don't want to be doing that. I schedule time to do it right now. And this means a lot to me, and I'm passionate about it. And that's exactly what I want to do. So
and I
want to be here with you guys.
Right now is what's important, and that is, for me, these are chances for all of us to connect. Now, all of a sudden, building your network is extremely important. It is. Now, I got to tell you, you're better to have a small network of warriors than you are to have a big network where you're pulling everybody along with you. And maybe Slim, I mean, he didn't want to go all the way into it, but I can tell you, with the people that he knows, I'm sure he gets pounded. Can you do this? Can you do that? I do. Ted does. Neil does. And what drives me nuts is you can send someone a case and you can tell them to read it, or you can send them a particular statute or a video so they can learn from it, and they won't do it. They want you to do it for them. And the problem is, it's very tempting to do it for them, but having been a general manager all my life, I can tell you I would never get angry at anybody who worked for me if they did something I had not advised against. If they hadn't been trained to do it a different way, I would never hold that against them.
Sure.
But if they had been taught better and they knew better and they just made the random decision to do as they pleased, I'd blow them right out of there. Because this is your child, folks. It is. It's not Philly's child. And you know, part of me, like with Philly, how do I explain it? I used to have people say to me, well, you're the boss. You're making all the money. You pay to take us to lunch. And I said, you know what? You know how I learned what I learned? I paid for the people that knew what they were doing. I paid for their lunch so I could go be with them at lunch. You know how much it's worth to sit down with somebody who knows the business? You can't beat a man at his own business. And I'm telling you, you can sit down with a man who knows the trade, not the tricks of the trade, but knows his trade. And in an hour's time, he can give you an education you can't get in 4 years of college. Because it's going to all boil down to 5 to 7 little critical success factors in no matter what you do in life. And once you learn those, they're going to be the keys of making a success of yourself in whatever endeavor. So if you want to earn more, you got to learn more. If you want to get ahead at this game with the court system, you've got to learn more. And I'm telling you, folks, one thing that will make you feel better is knowledge will give you confidence. And when you walk in and you know some things and you just know it with all your heart, not you're guessing it, not you read it on Facebook, but you went to a courtroom, you court watched, you stayed there and you watched cases all day long. Sometimes I do that. Why? It's not because I want to be in a courtroom watching cases all day, but if I'm going to learn and I can't go to law school, I need to go in there and see what that judge is up to. I need to see what happens in there. I need to see what other cases do.
It's knowing your place.
That's the only way you get ahead.
It's knowing your place and your time, like you were talking about earlier, and I don't want to go in there with Mark to try to articulate myself the right way to these yuppie I'm going to pause. Yuppie people, and I just want to sit there and look at them, and when they look over at me and they see all the ink and all the time that I've put, and everything is my story. My right arm's my music, and my left arm's my story, and all the times I've been in jail, and I look down, and every day it's a constant reminder of what's happened to me and what you've overcome, you know, in anything in life. So, I mean, know your place. Know your place. Yeah, Mark couldn't be there to rally with us and march alongside us. Mark has his own place to be, and I've heard that from so many people. They know their place. Marching with us down the blocks and going block for block, marching and rallying and protesting is not where Mark belongs at that very moment. You know,
correct.
It's knowing your place. Mark, so don't hate on Mark because he's not here. Don't you know what I mean? Belittle him and put him down just because of that. He's at his own place, and some people don't understand that. Those are the sheeple. But we need people like that don't want to research and educate themselves to pay an attorney, because you're feeding the system. We're trying to awake people, tell them you can do it pro se like Don did. You know, you can do it by yourself like you did, Randy. It's being able to give these people that confidence to say, yes, you can walk in there and play that stupid role. So you're telling me this? Well, how's that in the best interest of my children, Your Honor? And then you make them answer it. It's that misdirection. And it's always put the ball in their court, you know?
It is. And guys, I'm going to tell you, for the listeners out there, Phyllis Slim is exactly right here. Many times I will get an email or a phone call. I don't even know who the people are. I got a call this week. I'm not kidding you. Melissa and I were doing something in Fayetteville, and I'm not taking any. I've abandoned my career to just do this. So the money I used to make is poof. But we were doing just a little job, and we're headed back, and the phone rings, and it's somebody out of Maine. And I'm like, well, who in the world is that? Well, the guy gets on there, and he says, Randy, I had to get with you. And I was like, okay. And he said, I went to my hearing today, and they locked me up. I said, they locked you up for what? He said, I don't know. I said, well, how did you bail out? He said, I'm not bailed out. I'm in the cop car. I said, you're in the what? He's in the cop car. He is driving in the cop car, talking to me on a cell phone, on his way to jail. Now, I have never talked to this guy but once before, and it was like 2 minutes about something, and I think that was just text messaging. But for whatever reason, he decided to call me. So I said, well, ask the cop, what are you being charged with? It was for terrorism. It was terrorizing and harassing emails. Now, he didn't send anything threatening to anybody. It's in Maine. I said, wait a minute, are you looking at a warrant? And he asked the officer, is there a warrant? And then the officer said, we don't need a warrant. I'm like, oh, my God, I've heard that before. And right then, the officer says, you got to get off the phone, and makes him get off the phone to me. So they arrested a guy basically for terrorism, because he sent CPS questions and wanted answers, and he's still in jail. Now, I've called, left messages with his wife, and he's got a bond and everything, and hopefully there's a hearing coming. But, see, that's a man who knew when he was in trouble, he needed to get with somebody that had been in jail before. And I know some of y'all may look at us and go, oh, God, this is a bunch of criminals here. They all been in jail. Well, you know, if you want to do this right, you're going to have to deal with some people who've been places you haven't been. And I can tell you something else, and I don't mean this to be demeaning or anything, but if you want to learn what's really going on in the county you're in, go to jail. I ain't lying. When you're in there and you're talking with the other people that are in jail, they know every scam that's happening. They know every dealer. They know every connection. They know everybody's little ins and outs because they're a part of it, and they'll tell you. As long as you're not in there snitching or doing something crazy. But you don't have to go to jail to learn what Philly knows or what I know or what Ted knows or Neil knows, because we're out here doing shows to let you know exactly what we know. Now, there's a lot of people, they try to hide their information, and I've seen it with managers and with people in this movement, and their belief is if they tell you everything they know and you put it with everything you know, then you'll know more than they know, and they're all about ego. I wish everybody knew exactly what I knew. I do. I wish there was 100 people running around, because when I'm busy, I wouldn't have this sad feeling because I couldn't help somebody. I'd say, hey, call number 74. Yeah, maybe 74 can show up that day. So I think no matter where we are, this developing of a network, so that once one of us learns something that works, like the FERPA does with me, or how Philly does his marketing and gets things out there, or how Yaya, he's a fighter. He has to take a butt whipping, folks. He gets beat all in the face and everything else. So this guy faces a different thing. Neil, he's fought battles, and the current lawsuit he had me take to Surrey County and file for him, that's against the North Carolina senator who is writing the laws here. So there's a lot. I didn't know what I was doing when I did it, but I went ahead and did it. And that's the only way you're going to learn some of this stuff, is just to do it. And don't be afraid. It's okay to have butterflies, but when you can do something, please do something. And if you don't know, then do reach out and say, where do I need to go to learn about this? I love it when people learn something new. What Ted does to set up these shows, I don't want to learn how to do it. I really don't. I'm not going to be good at doing it. And Melissa will tell you, as far as what Philly Slim does, I can't play any musical instrument. When I'm in church and they're clapping in there, I break out in a cold sweat because I cannot clap when they clap. But now when it comes to understanding the chessboard of a case, like I have like 18 of them going right now. When it comes to that, I see it. I don't know how to explain it, but I see it. All right. And I just feel it. And I'm very good at it. But when it comes to the things that these guys are good at, oh no. And I'm not going to try at this stage in my life to learn what they do or be good at what they do. But I'm smart enough to know that if you take Philly with his talents and Neil with his and Brian Kenner with his, and you take Ted Fogg with his, Jay Moss and them, you put everybody together, then you all of a sudden have a monster. The problem is nobody's ever combined it all together in one solid knowledge base, and with people who are warriors. And that's what I think now is happening. You know, it was the right timing for me. My daughter's now out of the house. Philly just said it. He's getting back into the game. Neil said the same thing. There's a timing to everything and a natural progression. And I really feel that right now, for the first time, I feel like everything is there, and we just need to put it together and then show up for everybody. I'm not kidding. And I don't know how many people show up when Philly's got a court case or a hearing, but I can tell you there is so many people that I just showed up, or Cheyenne and I just showed up, and it changed what they were doing in the court. I am not kidding you. It's not because we said anything, but it's almost as though they're hiding everything, which they are, and then they didn't know who you are, so they tread it a little lighter, and they turned the case around because they didn't want it getting out there. They know me. They know I'm going to record it, and I record right in the courtroom. I don't recommend it for everybody else, but hey, I don't fear the fine or whatever it is for it. And if I can help it or help a case by doing it, I'll do it. But I'm just glad to be here, and I am really, really grateful to have a warrior like Philly here. And Philly, what do you feel about everything? 'Cause I feel hopeful all of a sudden. I really do.
Oh yeah, I mean you gotta. Hey, I want to say thank you to Michael Monroe. Everybody's blowing me up. Hey Ted, do we got any callers calling in, brother?
No, that would be on Randy's end through Blog Talk.
I'm looking now.
Yeah, I mean, I know like 5
a-
people have been inboxing me like, I want to talk, I want to say something.
516.
I said, I'm trying to get everybody.
516-387-1481, then press 1 to join. You won't be on video, but you'll be on audio with Randy and Philly. That person you mentioned before, I'm talking to his wife right now. His name is Ed. And he is still in jail. All he needs is $310 for bail. That's it. $310. They don't have it. They're way north in Maine. I don't know. I mean, it would take me, even where I am in Vermont, it would take me like 6 hours to get to him. He's so far northeast. He's way, way up there.
Well, look, we've got an anonymous on here. We've got a 1313 last 4. We've got a 6081. We've got a 1413. We got a bunch of people who pressed 1. 46 or 4961. A lot of people have pressed 1 here. So if I know who it is, we got questions here from, Randall said he had a question and then he said, never mind. So I don't know. Let's go over here and see. Okay.
Yeah, well, when Randy, when you...
There you are, Randy.
Randy, I would like to jump in here.
Okay.
Randy, what's up, man?
Oh, we're doing great, Philly. Glad to hear you on. More active. I know we talked a few times in the past, but, you were talking about uniting and getting together and all that. And, you brought up a perfect example about Cash. I don't think any of us expect Cash to win. But if we can get Cash to the debates.
Oh, amen.
It's weird.
Amen. I'm with you. Yeah, of course. I'm
100%.
I support everybody who's trying to move forward. You know what I mean? That's what I said earlier about having time. Yes, we have 20. I could think of 60 other things, including spending time with my family right now that I could be doing better than this to re-coach, having a life coach session with 50 and 60-year-old people where you're like, I thought you figured that out 50 or 60 years ago, that you have to work to make money. Nobody lives for free, and everything is work. I mean, we have things so as long as you're doing something, I'll help,
Yeah, but we have so many people that want to get that as you said, we're hurt. We get we get butt hurt, and we want to attack instead of realizing that let's just push that forward a little bit, because we don't. Instead of looking at the goal, let's look at what the achievement might be. Like I said, if Cash just gets to the debate, I'll be jumping for joy.
Amen.
I agree. Okay, we got 4961. I'm unmuting 4961. You have a question, 4961? Well, they're unmuting. It's taking a little longer. You're unmuted, 4961.
I'm not sure. This is Michael Monroe. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to make a quick comment. Philly, you guys, all of you guys, put your time in, you put your dues in, and you guys hold a lot of, I personally hold you all in high regards. I watch you all. I removed myself out of the big movements for some personal reasons, but still in the background working to really lift people up and to encourage them to stand on their 2 feet and start walking forward. You have to fight. You can't sit on your butt and hope that it's going to change. You have to actively engage. And you have to, Philly put it really well, you have to articulate. You have to articulate with knowledge. There's people out there that are willing to share that knowledge. Randy, you said something, you commented on something, that there's a lot of folks out there have knowledge and they're not willing to share it all. I read a book called Sacred Cows Make the Best Hamburgers, and that's it. It's mine, and I'm not going to give it to anybody. It's my knowledge, and that doesn't help us. That doesn't help anybody. My fight, like you, Randy, my kids aren't 18 yet, but my fight's over. I've won, and so my kids are thriving well now. We've got past all the crap, but there's guys out there still struggling. I met a guy yesterday. I was dropping off my kids to their mom at a gas station, and this guy pulls up and he's doing the same thing, and I'm like, hey, have you ever heard of Father's Rights Champ? Have you ever heard of Faulty Colorado? Have you ever heard of Fathers Against Malicious Mothers? And he's like, no, I have never heard of any of that. I'm like, hey, go look us up online. Go look up the Father's Rights. Go look up parental alienation. Go look up these things. Message me in those, and we'll get together, because it's one person at a time. It's getting together. It's sharing knowledge, and not every circumstance is the same. My circumstance is not as bad as Tommy Queen or some of these other guys out there that just are decimated. But it hurts. It hurts really bad. And so there's men out there. Philly, Jason, man, you're my brother. I don't want to get all emotional, but you help me and encourage me. John Hinges helped encourage me. Jay Moss, I've never talked to you in person, but I read a lot of your stuff. You've encouraged me tremendously. So that's so important. We can't sit back, and we cannot attack other people for what they believe is the right thing, unless it's just lunacy. And then you have to point that out. If you have people who say women are not supposed to be in this movement, hey, my wife fights right next to me. Okay, and there's a lot of wives out there doing all of the research for their husbands that are getting decimated in these court cases. So if you got somebody saying that, then they need to go. They need to be quiet and just sit back and listen and learn something. So anyway, I just want to encourage you guys to keep fighting, keep sharing, and keep lifting them up. I got 2 little babies to put to bed, so I'm going to get going. Philly, I love you, brother. Keep it up, lay it down, and keep moving forward. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Michael. Love you too, man.
Thank you, Michael. And Philly, here's something, just sitting here, and this is one of them things that for whatever reason I'm pretty good at digging around. But while we're sitting here, December 2nd, the Denver Post, the looming crisis facing Colorado's public pension fund, and it's about their school system. Then I pulled up all of their meetings, and they even have they have a little thing on here so that you can pop in there and find out who the superintendents are, which will make it really easy tomorrow to get their grievance forms and all of that, which I already have the FERPA ones, and FERPA's actually gotten easier since we did ours, because now they have it online. You can file it online and send it right out. It's like a fill-in-the-blank PDF thing. So there's a lot of times when, just like everybody said, you may not think that what you know, some of you listening out there may not think, well, I'm not good at this. I can't do this part or I can't do that part. That's fine. You may not be able to rap, but you know what? You could carry equipment in for Philly. And he may not be able to do whatever it is you do. You may be able to paint banners or posters or help design graphics or something that others can't do. That's the key. Is I don't think things have come together quite. Everybody's been so afraid of, I don't know, stepping on somebody else's toes, or afraid that I've been doing this a long time and I don't want anybody to take it over. I wish the whole thing would be over with tomorrow. Neil Shelton will tell you, I don't want to have a job doing this. I wish there was no need for this. And we are working on a couple things to try and make that happen with juries and so forth. So I want everybody to understand that what little bit you can do if you don't take anything else away from this, just remember, always do what you can, and every day do all you can. Do not get complacent. Do not make up excuses. You can make progress or you can make excuses, but you can't make both. And as long as you're making some progress, folks, things are going to work out for all of us. And that's what I fully believe, is that everybody's got something to bring to the table. I think every case can be a winning case. I think that we just need to better figure out how to get along in it and how to share information. And I don't know, how to get over bitter things. I know it hurts. You know, I've sat right here in the middle of nowhere before, and I've got nothing. Really, I'm glad all my stuff's paid off. But if it hadn't been, I would have lost everything. And I don't have much, but I'm grateful. And wherever you're at right now, just understand, be grateful, because you're hearing us right now. You got one that's in jail, Ted's talking to. We got Dominic, he's 6 feet under. There's somebody, I'll guarantee, that we know that will also be 6 feet under before this is all over with. That is a long-term solution to a temporary problem. If you ever feel like you got to do that, guys or girls, call one of us. Now, I don't know if you guys have had to face this or not, but I try to bring it up about every show. There's been some very respectable people that have called me at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've done nothing but hold their hand for a couple hours when they were thinking about going off the deep end. There's been several men and women who would call me, and there was nothing I could do. They were too far away to do anything for them, but I held their hand, just held their hand, and kept them from losing it mentally. And they went on to win their cases, and they will now post, I won, and thank you, Randy. And I'm thinking, I didn't do anything. They said, no, but you were there. Sometimes it's just good just to be there. So the other of y'all, free Philly up to do what he does. Let him do what he does. You do what you can do. Any of us can talk to our friends. We got all these friends on Facebook. All of us can learn to do that part. So if you do that part for us, you're going to loosen our time up so that we can hit at the higher level. Because I think everybody would agree, you've got to put your very best to the point of the spear here and go way high. We got to punch up. We've got to take it higher, where one person can change a state, not just one case. It's wonderful to change one case, but as long as we do that, you can eat an elephant one bite at a time, but I can tell you we'll be eating a long time, and there'll be another elephant by the time you're finished with it. I want to see us do something on a bigger level and make things happen faster for all of us. And I'm just grateful to be here. I don't know. I'm just tickled and running my mouth a lot. But anyway, it's back to you again, Philly.
No, it's all good, man. I appreciate you chatting. I appreciate it.
Well, that's what I do.
What's that?
That
drumming coming
callers
from?
trying to get in?
Yeah, there's a crowd of them, brother. I got to tell you, we've got 2660 to 660. You are now live.
Hey, everybody. It's Laura Thompson, Mediator, Colorado.
Yay, Laura.
Hey, Laura Thompson.
Hey. So, I always have something to say. Okay.
You're a woman.
You know what? But I'm a really good dad.
Awesome. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, girl.
Okay, so let's talk activism. I mean, Philly is the guy. I mean, I met this guy, sub-zero, snow-covered, Denver streets, Colfax. A proud day for me. I was thrilled to meet him. And we've been growing a friendship, and hopefully we get to work together further in the future together. But, I mean, there's no bigger warrior than Philly Slim. So I'm glad that you're getting, you know, some ideas, some thoughts, some support, all the good stuff. On a serious note, you know, suicidal tendencies and suicide's up, and we need to all address that as human beings and as a community and within our churches and within groups and just general communities, I suppose. I would implore everyone to understand that they are their own mediator, that everybody has the opportunity to mediate with a neighbor, with a partner, with their ex. When we're dealing with narcissistic borderline nightmares, it's really hard to do this. I would also implore that mediation within our families means that sometimes you need to cut those people out of your lives. I've done that myself. It's
No doubt.
okay if you're dealing with a sick mofro, whoever the hell they are. I mean, let's be clear. Philly's been dealing with this for 11 years. I've been dealing with this for 14 years. I cut mine off 2 years ago, almost to the day. It's okay to say bye-bye to sick persons who can't do the right thing. So that's my message for tonight. Say bye-bye to those sick individuals in your life and just cut them out. They are so toxic that you cannot deal with them. If you've done everything, you know there's a really big problem in your life. Just be okay. If there's a lot of mediation tactics on how to deal with these people, and I can help with that. I'm sure most people in this movement know that I'm open to communications and ideas around that. If we need to do a bigger show on that, we can. But, like, dealing with those people sometimes just means cutting them off, like truly cutting them off. I suppose the other thing I would say about Philly is Philly continues to fight. Please don't be somebody who chooses not to fight anymore because, I mean, for our children, they deserve that. They were chosen for us. That means they know that we're hard as rocks and we need to be the champ that Philly is and Philly talks about constantly for everybody else. Let's just be the champ that shows up. And I'm really excited to work with Philly more and, you know, get these kids home. Like, it's so beyond absurd and horrific that these children are growing up without an awesome role model like Philly. Like, that's probably all I have to say.
Thank you, Elle. God, I love you so much. You're so awesome, and I do appreciate it. But I wouldn't have met Randy. I've actually, Randy, you came up in my conversation 3 other times, and I believe in the law of attraction. When someone's told you, hey, you need to check out this guy, Randy, and Ella said it to me twice, and I heard your name referred somewhere else, and when they're like, he's the only one, like I got a hold of Rob Manzanares. Here's this man fighting just as you fought, and he won. So now we can use your case to reference towards ours, and a lot of folks don't even see how important that is. And I just want to say thank you to Elle because she just kept saying, you need to talk to Randy Davis. And we were talking earlier, Randy, and I'm going through 186 messages, and I'm like, man, I didn't even realize he had a friend request out there. And this guy, you've been trying to reach out to me, and I've been trying to reach out to you, and it's just the law of attraction. The universe had brought us together, and now hopefully we can really hammer down. So maybe my case can help other families here in Denver that are fighting against FERPA law, and especially educating them. And
I tell you, it was Neil Shelton who
putting it out there.
Yeah, Neil had contacted me, and he said, "Look, Philly Slim is going to need your help." And so I sent you a message, and I thought, okay. And then I sent the information as well. And then when you said yesterday that Laura had said to call, I'm like, I don't know if I know her. I don't think I've talked to her. I'm glad I've heard her voice now. But you see, that's the thing sometimes we don't realize is you would be amazed. There was a young lady, her name was Tessie Bear Miller. She did a show with my daughter Cheyenne. And Cheyenne's video, she put one video out while I was in jail, and it was called Help Me Get Back to My Dad. Well, they brought me out of jail and reamed me because they said I somehow produced the thing. But it hit, and overnight it had 100,000 hits on it. She's got that kind of attraction. And Tessie Bear Miller called simply because she saw Cheyenne's video. I had no idea. 3 days after she called and came on a show with my daughter, all 4 of her kids were back with her, and a 4-year CPS case was over. It was that fast because does it usually happen that fast? No, but there was no case. And when she went in California, when she went into the clerk's office to file what we talked about, she called me and said, while we were on the show, my lawyer called me and said, get off that show. And I was thinking, how do these people even know? But they watched everything. But when she walked in, they said, no, we already know what you're here to file, and here's your paperwork. We're out of your life. And they've been a Tessie Bear Miller. You can check it. But just like that, Melissa McDonald, 3 felonies, conspiracy, larceny, breaking and entering, all trumped up stuff from a mad ex. That's all it was. She had done nothing.
We're trying to pass one out here. I've been talking with some folks, and I believe what you're saying, and we call that here a hate crime. That should be construed just as homophobics go after people that don't like gays or lesbians, and they're beating the hell out of them and torturing them and stuff just because that's a hate crime. They consider that a hate crime. Well, malicious mothers who are locking you up and doing all these things in abusive process, they're doing that. That is a hate crime. You hate me that much, but in all that hate, you have to start with love. At one point, you spread your legs, and we decided it was a good thing to have a child together. Little did we know, but what's the greatest thing that came out was a miracle. I wouldn't be who I am today. You wouldn't be who you are. Laura wouldn't be where she's at. It's history repeats itself, and you're a product of your own environment and being able to choose. And thankfully,
this is very true.
I'm a huge supporter of that. When you hear it 3 times, if you don't do your due diligence to reach out to someone, then you're only hindering yourself. And that's a lot of people's biggest problem. They hinder themselves. Oh, no. If I send Philly a message, he won't answer. And sometimes I can't. Or, hey, if I send Randy one, if I send Ted one, if I send L one, well, these people really help me. And there's some fakes and phonies like you talked about earlier. And at the end of the day, if you run it, it's the law of average, the law of numbers. Like El said, if you continue to every encounter you have, if 1 in 3 families are going through it across the globe, every 3rd person you encounter, you should be saying something. It's that simple. And the
numbers are rising, folks. And if you don't have a case in your own individual family, I'll bet you one of your close neighbors does, or one of your relatives does. And if they don't, they're going to. And the reason why is they're having to move up the social ladder, if you would. And they're starting to mess with people they should not even mess with. But if they don't keep these numbers up, then nothing is going to happen with money to them. And it is all about Social Security fraud. Just to give you an example, everybody talks about Title IV now, D&D. I saw that in the beginning, but you need to look at USDA, DHHS. You also need to look at Medicaid fraud. But we just, in the one case here in Wake County, the social worker, and we found this out just by taking a chance, because sometimes you do things you don't know what you're going to catch when you go fishing for a fraud. but you got to go fishing. So we make a call and find out and then get the information on it and the documentation, and a social worker literally used her own name, her own social security number, in order to apply for disability for the last 13 years on a child in foster care. Now, how in the world? That's called fraud. What do we find out from this? The Social Security fraud people called back, and they've got secret agents posing as social workers in that department, and we didn't even know it. They are in there, and they are doing what they do, and it is working. But you've got to take these little shots, and once we find out how to make that work, and we put that with a FERPA win, or we put that from any victory is a big victory if it can be repeated somewhere else. And every little thing that we can do, we need to share it with each other so that you don't just hit. I like to explain it like this, because people say, well, Randy, how are you going to make this thing go away? Well, if you imagine a cul-de-sac, and in that cul-de-sac there's 20 houses around it, but these are all drug dealers. If house number 5 catches on fire, all the other houses will run to put the fire out so nobody calls the cops. Why? If they come to the one house, they're going to bust everybody. So that's what happens when we go to one agency at a time. The other agencies will run in there and put the fire out. So when you get ready to launch, what you want to do is set all them houses on fire at the same time.
Amen.
And when you hit them at the same time with a strategy, so you've got FERPA breathing down their neck, you've got the local bar breathing down their neck, even though they're not going to do anything. You've got the Judicial Standards Committee breathing down their neck, the Office of Indigent Representation whacking at them, and you've got somebody in the media like I do here that'll put your stuff in the newspaper or on TV. You hit it all at one time, and guess what? That is how you win, is you get leverage over these people. Now, the one thing I have to tell you, if you have an ex that's vindictive, or you have a friend or anybody who has a child that they can
Uh-oh. We may have lost Randy. I know he has to use a hotspot where he lives in North Carolina. He is in a beautiful area way out in the sticks. So he might have to He might have to call back in.
So Ted, let me ask you, man, what do you think? I know you've been fighting a long time, and I had the privilege of meeting you and walking amongst you and standing next to you in the battle, man. That was a hell of a turnout, and I think it's only going to get bigger from here, man.
Well, I'm trying to put together an event in New Hampshire. We had a leader in New Hampshire, Michael Gill, and he's been very focused on a number of different issues in the state. And he, unfortunately, is in hiding again. He brings so much attention to himself, and he's not just fighting family law, fortunately or unfortunately. So I'm trying to pick up where he left off in a way, and bring this group of folks in New Hampshire back together and get this event. It's called the New Hampshire Christmas Suffrage March. And we will be singing Christmas carol parodies that I've created at the University of New Hampshire Law School, and a bunch of other buildings, including the Capitol in Concord. That's
awesome.
Yeah, if you could make it from Colorado, you can fly right into Manchester. But
okay.
You know, as my divorce happened 5 years ago, and I just found everybody here about a year and a half ago. I first met everybody at the DC March in 2016. And, I spent a lot of time trying to go to different events and meet people. I thought that was the best thing to do to get a better understanding, and in fact that was. I found a lot of things that worked and a lot of things that aren't working. And, without getting too much into detail, I found out that there may be personal agendas out there, but we need to try and focus as much as we can locally to help us out on a bigger scale, like in DC. If we're just focusing on Illinois, let's say, bills might get passed in Illinois, but the rest of the country isn't going to give a flying F what is happening in Illinois. We need to do, like Shane Downs said.
That's where Mark and I's camp, Mark Ludwig and I's, when we first talked, and I said I want to put together a Stop the War on Children, and he was all for it with the GoFundMe. I mean, if the Father's Rights Movement is at 8.6 million views weekly, and you can get, and I argued with this guy. He said, well, you're not very, I said, I'm very transparent. I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and the ideas to do it, and we'll send you an email on exactly it. And with me, with internet marketing, that's what my degree's in, is marketing, and not crowdfunding, and not pyramid scheming, and right. Those type of things. It's just basically this guy, I said, if everyone grabs $1, it's not just the dollar, it's the point of having $1, but when you flood a market, it's like a fire sale. And if you know about computers, you know what that is. If you know about the Die Hard movie, it's like a fire sale. Once you hit that, and everybody across the globe all simultaneously donates $1 at exactly 12 o'clock midnight, and we can get those people to be able to do that, when they wake up the next morning and everybody's phone is flooded, the only thing you're going to see is what? You're going to see a Stop the War on Children, just like Anonymous does. They have hackers. They have people that know what they're doing. We don't have that as an organization. I've reached out to Anonymous and said, why can't you talk about this? And hopefully one day they wake up and see that this is a real issue when they're finally affected from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's what we need, and that's what it is. And I argued with this gentleman for 5 minutes, and he says, I don't know, my $1, where's it going? And I said, it's going towards Mark to travel. Once Mark's bill is placed, or Illinois's bill and this bill over here, once they're in place, what happens is a snowball. But you need individuals like Mark Ludwig, who's worked under these folks, in order to infiltrate that, and he's the best at it, better than anybody so far in the 11 years I've been doing it. Now imagine you get a Philly Slim who's all tatted up, and I'm just there for the looks. I'm not even going to speak. I'm there for the intimidation
I read the article.
Factor.
I read it.
Yeah, and then imagine being able to do that. And this gentleman said, well, and I said to him, do you go to the grocery store during the holidays, and the Goodwill person's out there ringing the bell? You ask him, do you donate money? And he goes, yeah, I'll give a couple of bucks. And I said, well, then why are you bitching to me about wanting to donate $1 on a specific time during the day? That's the thing. You didn't turn around. You didn't turn around and ask this person, where's my 86 cents going? Because it's going to a 501c3 nonprofit like a church who continues to take 10% of your earnings and say, God, just like what's his name said it.
Yep.
Years ago, the comedian. God has all the answers, but he has no money. That's the whole point. You're giving 10% to the church, but yet you're going to bitch at me for $1? Like, I don't need your $1 then. If you don't think $1 can help your situation and everybody's across the world, then don't do it. Yeah. Then you're not my target demographic from a business standpoint. The other people will be happy to donate $1. You're sitting here bitching about you've been in and out of jail, or you've done this and this, and yet you're spending how many thousands of dollars in the courtroom? Yeah. What's one more dollar? What's one more dollar? Maybe it doesn't do anything. Maybe it does a lot of things. And then once it snowballs with Mark, and he's doing it now. He's doing it with his campaign. And I plan on using all the money that's gathered up and putting it that way. I don't have a 501c3 so I can hide things. I have an issue committee called Faulty Colorado, Fathers Amending Unjust Laws Through You. So it's an issue committee. You want to donate, donate. If you think would my team of people here in Denver help you out, great, man. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Let's keep continuing to help each other. If I could donate to your show, Ted, I will. If I could, I donated to Tim Scomo's. We've all donated to Yaya's. Some of us have donated even more to the Red Pill. There's a ton of organizations out there and people that are doing big things.
That's something
and just trying to.
I want to remind people that the anti-feminist movement has the red pill, and for us as a community, we need to leave feminists and maninists alone. It's not our fight. They raised money.
You got an echo, Ted. I can't hear you, brother.
All right, hold on. Let's see what's happening.
Ted, I think Randy got kicked off, so he just put everybody out. But we do have 2 callers he wants to get in here.
Okay, if there's not an echo
I believe
on
Mark
them,
Ludwig's on as well.
Bring them on. As long as there's not an echo, let's keep going, and I'll just drop out, or I'll keep the video going, obviously. But everything sounds good on my end.
Who's got the 1313? I'm not sure. Just put them all on.
1313.
Put them all on, he says.
Well, that's
Randy.
where the echo was coming, Slim.
Put them all on, Randall.
1413.
1313. The last 4 digits.
Last four digits. Put your phone on mute, please.
If that's
all right, how about?
If that's where the echo is coming, I'm just
coming you guys.
To put them on mute. Yeah.
Ted, can you hear me, Melissa?
Yeah, I can hear you. Melissa?
Okay, we're having some technical difficulties. The computer shut down, and he just got back in.
Okay.
Everybody's unmuted.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Melissa.
Mark.
You're welcome.
All right.
Yeah, am I on? I'm on 0977.
Yeah, you're on. You're on, Mark.
How you doing, bud?
Go, honey.
Hey, what's up, brother? How are you?
Excellent. Sorry, I missed the first part of the show. We were having a conference call with the North Dakota crew.
Okay, I'm back again.
All right.
I got phones hanging all over me.
We can hear you, Randy. We have Mark
Randy
on the line.
And Melissa.
Okay, let me mute that one.
No, mute you. Yeah. Because I think it's echoing through Melissa's phone if she's standing next to you. Okay, Mark, sorry.
That's right. I didn't catch the last part of what you were saying, and you are right on track. I mean, basically what we're doing is no different than a political campaign. And, for most statewide House-type races, people need a minimum of $20,000. For Senate campaigns, state Senate, they need at least $50,000 to $100,000. For statewide races, you need at least $500,000 normally. And we're trying to fight our battle on hundreds of dollars or a few thousand. And we're going up against a bar association that's well-entrenched, well-funded, well-trained. And, like you said, a lot of people are skeptical of, oh, my gosh, what's going to happen to the money? Well, every time they take $1 out of their pocket, like you said, do they question every person they gave the dollar to? I can understand a degree of skepticism, but I think there's so many of us, like yourself, and so many people who've already proven our heart, our soul, and our blood is in this because of our kids. Now, if some newcomer comes along that nobody's heard of, I can understand that. But if somebody's been around as long as so many people that are in this movement, and we all have different philosophies. As you were saying earlier, I did catch the part where you were talking about that. You and I think, are prime examples. We've got great respect for each other and admire each other greatly, but we reach a very different demographic segment of the population, and that's to our advantage. So rather than fighting amongst each other, it's a lot smarter to lock arms and say, what if I could combine my community with your community? Imagine the power we would have working together. So you are right on track. We need to all start working together and figure out the common enemy is the Bar Association, and it's not us. So let's start working together, get some money, and get some of these things passed, because it's going to take some money to do a proper campaign with some billboards, some print ads, some call to action mailing. We're going to need some money. So
Mark,
we do need to start asking people for money. Because 2018, we're going to have probably at least 30 to 35 states introducing shared parenting bills this coming year.
What do you think about what happened in Missouri? You're from Missouri. They passed a shared parenting bill, and what's happening now is they've gone around that hurdle.
We didn't pass the shared parenting bill.
What?
Yeah, we didn't pass a shared parenting bill. We passed the facts, findings, and conclusions in 2016, which was basically a backdoor approach. Now, I think this year we're definitely going to pass it. Anytime you get legislators, I don't know if you've been following my page, but we've got so many legislators calling me on a weekly basis asking to come to some of our events now. We also just got a new House Judiciary chair in Missouri a week and a half ago. The old chair was owned by the Bar Association. The new chair is much more friendly, and the only stumbling block we've ever had in Missouri was the committee. On the floor, on our facts, findings, and conclusion bill, we passed that 154-2 in 2016. So we've got the votes on the floor. The only hang-up is the committee. So now that we've got a much more friendly chair, I think this year we really will get a true rebuttable presumption bill passed.
And a lot of states, Mark, thank you for bringing that up. In a lot of states like Colorado here in Denver, we have a 50-50, but it's a presumption. It's a presumption if you don't fall underneath of an umbrella that they like to call domestic violence. And domestic violence is an umbrella case. So what happens is you raised your voice at your spouse. That's a domestic violence. You took her cell phone away. You took her keys away so that she didn't drive drunk or inhibited. You took her keys away. Well, now that's another charge. Why didn't you just let her drive? But then you turn around. You see what I'm saying? It's all an umbrella case to fall under something. So we have a 50-50 presumption here, but that's exactly what it is. It's a presumption of what? A presumption of, but did he do this, or did she do that, or did he do this, or did he do that? Okay, well now we're starting. We don't start at 100 and 100 or 50-50. We're starting at 0, and then I'll add up all the negatives that the man did. Now I'm going to take away his children. You see what I'm saying? We don't start with. You can't say 50-50 parenting is I get 6 cookies and you get 8. You know what I mean? It should be 6 and 6 is 12, but I'm getting 2 cookies.
Before we go too far, Philly and Mark both. Do you think that any shared parenting bill is going to go anywhere with the incentives still in place? The courts
well, next is Title 4D.
The courts are going to still need to generate that revenue. Right now, their revenue comes from Title 4E and 4D. If they're not getting Title 4D money, what has been happening in Missouri is since they have to find out that both parents are fit, they need to see if both parents are fit or not. So since they haven't been getting that Title 4D money as much, what's happening is they are proving both parents unfit during a divorce and creating a 100% pure profit foster child. So if we make an equal shared parenting bill and we're not getting rid of the incentives, they will use that bill to create foster kids. And I'm not saying, I mean, that's a horrible thing, but in the long run, that'll be good for us because it will show continued usurpations by the courts. But I'm pretty sure, based on Missouri in the last year, this is what's going to happen. It's even to HB 4113 in Illinois. It'll do good for about 6 months.
And Ted, they're also where they're coming.
Until we get Title 4D and E struck down, we are going to be spinning our wheels to a bit. Now, in Missouri, we're very fortunate. We have a legislature that's not afraid to turn down the federal money. I think, we're one of the first states that led the way in turning down Obamacare money. And matter of fact, we're, I think, the only state left in the country that our driver's licenses aren't valid at airports and anything because we're refusing to comply with federal law right now. And right now, one of my best friends is actually running for state auditor, who one of his first audits is going to be exactly where is that Title 4D and E money going specifically, because as you know, you do FOIA requests that money is so mangled and covered up at the local level, you can't really track where does it finally end up.
Right.
But when you've got a state auditor do an official state audit, we're going to track that money down. And Paul's not afraid to lead the push to turn down federal money. But you are right. That's our biggest, and that's why I made the trip to Washington this summer, is we've got to start that going in D.C. Now, we do have a big edge. I know he's real controversial, but I used to speak with Judge Roy Moore on the speaking circuit years ago, and I think he brings to light two issues. Number one, the false allegations, because I think everybody's aware that, even though obviously there's some question, but there's already been at least 3 of the accusers of his that have already been proven to be blatantly false, which many of us have already gone through similar situations. But more importantly, a lot of people don't know his son went through a nasty custody battle and almost mirrors everything that all of us have gone through. So to have somebody like him in the U.S. Senate, whether you agree with his other issues or not, because I realize there's people on both sides of the aisle, and I respect that. But I just say, in regard to shared parenting, Judge Moore in the Senate would be one heck of a fighter for us, because his family has been through recently the silver bullet type things, but more importantly, his son's been through every aspect of it.
Right.
And
we have Randy back with us.
I came back in
Randall,
on this.
Hold on, Randall. Can you please make sure that Randy is on the phone on Blog Talk? I have him back on the screen.
I'm going live if you guys can hear me. I got a question about Missouri, and I've got a mother there right now, and believe me, this woman is a champion. She will do whatever. But this situation is they had DSS involved, but then the kid is 16 years old. He tears out of everywhere they put him. It's not even an issue regarding the mother. Well, the mother gets a gag order on last Friday, and they've got to go back to court again. She's not even mentioned as a respondent, but the judge is trying to make her do psych evaluations. She's getting no due process whatsoever, and she's gagged to the point where she can't post anything, she can't say anything, and it's all about a juvenile case. This kid hit a cop in the courtroom. He stole 3 cars. She's the one who keeps finding him when they lose him. And they're trying to not charge him with anything because it's going to make it's their care in Missouri that he keeps getting out of and going and doing things. So what does somebody, I understand the whole finding of fact leading to the conclusion of law issue, and that is good, but what does a mother do in Missouri right now that's ran up against this thing where she has no due process? She's not a party to the case, can't get a record, and suddenly she is the perpetrator when it's really a son that's out of control, and they're trying to force her to do all these things. Is there any recourse?
That's definitely not one of my areas of strength. I would definitely have her call whoever her state rep is. Do you know what county she's in by any chance?
God, I want to say it was Carter County, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I would have her send me a private message. And we'll see if we can get her in contact with one of the legislators that's working with me on some of these issues.
Okay, I will. And as far as that bill that you're talking about with defining the fact and everything, exactly how is that one structured? I'm working with some people that are trying to get a parental rights bill into North Carolina, and they've gotten legislation into 28 states so far. And the lady is very, very good, has a huge organization behind her, but simple things like that would make a huge difference here. You know, when you hit certain hearings that have to have clear, cogent, convincing evidence, and the judge or a court has to actually make the findings of fact, it makes it more difficult on them to just create things out of the blue. So what kind of a case is, what kind of a law or statute is it that you're getting in regarding that?
2 things. Definitely anybody you're talking to in North Carolina, have them get a hold of me. My political career got started by Sue Myrick, who was the mayor of Charlotte And
I know her
U.S.
well.
Congresswoman, and her son is now the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Dan. But
Dan Forrest.
Yeah, but Sue is the one who got me my start. When I ran for U.S. Congress against Dick Gephardt, Sue's the one who set up a private meeting with me and Newt Gingrich and Dick Armey and all those guys. And, I mean, she was almost like a mother to me for years. And so I do have some connections in North Carolina. But basically the HB 1550, and that's the one that Jeremy, Linda, Kenneth, Scott, and myself, mainly Jeremy, Linda, and Kenneth got. But we wanted to do a true 50-50 rebuttable presumption. The challenge is when passing a bill, it's an art. You just have to figure out, okay, which one are you going to win and which one do you need to give up in round one and lose the battle to win the war. So what we settled on was that instead of doing a 50-50, that if a judge doesn't give 50-50, they have to give written facts, findings, and conclusions based on 8 parameters after giving their order. So basically what I did, it makes them subject to an appeal now, because before they could just say, oh, you get that Siegenthaler, which is the every other weekend and Wednesday nights, and they didn't have to give any written reason. So how can you appeal a case when you have no facts to appeal? So now we forced it.
Right.
It has to be in writing, and it swung the pendulum. It didn't get 50-50, but there's a noticeable difference in the majority of cases in Missouri now that we're finding that instead of fathers getting 4 or 5 overnights a month, now they're getting more like 8 or 9, which isn't as much as it should be, but it sure beats what it was 3 years ago.
Now, can I break in here for a minute?
Progress is good.
I have a question, because on some of these states that have gotten 50-50, they're still using Title 4D. So now you have a mother, and I've worked on cases both ways. Now you got a mother that makes more money than dad, but now she's still got to pay child support, and she's still got to take care of the child 50% of the time, or vice versa. Dad makes more money. He's still got to pay his child support, but he's still got 50% of the responsibility. Back to Ted's question, what about the funding? How do we, what suggestions, being in politics, do you have for like Texas or California, which are the 2 top states for Title 4D?
Texas is number 1.
Thing is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Texas is receiving far and above more Title 4D and E incentives than any other state. California, Florida, and New York are second together. But Texas is receiving far and above more than everybody else. By the way, Kirk Pendergrass is on hold if anybody wants to hear him speak about what we're speaking about. With that, I'll let you guys talk.
Let me just give a quick answer, and then I'll be quiet so I don't monopolize the time. But just real quick answer your question is twofold. Number one is like we said, is the elephant in the room we've got to eventually tackle is Title 4D and E. Unfortunately, we've got to get a few states to pass a 50-50 bill, or a solid 50-50 bill, in order to get some traction, because that's what's going to give us leverage and credibility when we do go to the federal level. If we try the federal level before getting some momentum with some states passing bills, we're not going to get anything accomplished. So the strategy is, because a lot of people say that, why are you wasting your time on the states? Is the states, I agree with them, the states are not an end-all, but you need the states to get credibility and leverage when you're talking to federal legislators. If we can pass 4 or 5 or 6 states this year, we're going to have a lot more oomph on Title 4D and E. But the other thing is, at the state level, step 1 is get a 50-50. Then you go back and address, in Missouri, we've got our Form 14, and there's that one line on there, the percentage of overnight credit that they use to try and welch money out of the Title 4D money. And that's what we plan on addressing after we get our 50-50. The key is, because of the way the Bar Association is so good at spinning things, if you address the child support first, then they spin it as, oh, see, it's just dads wanting to get out of child support. So if we go for the quality time first with the 50-50,
can I tell you how to win that conversation?
Opens the door to then go.
I'll tell you exactly how you win that conversation. you have to keep in mind that there are couples who are still married going through Title 4E. When their kids are removed and placed into foster care, that married couple has to pay child support to the foster care people. That's where you start the conversation and say, oh, by the way, non-custodial parents also pay child support. If you start off, I'm a dad, I'm for father's rights, period, I don't want to pay child support, they're going to go right back at you saying all you care about is the money you pay. When you start that argument with, look, in foster care, families are being torn apart. Married couples are having their children ripped out of their lives and being forced to pay child support to foster parents. That's where you start this argument. Any other starting point, you're going to get these very left-wing people going right back at you. You know why? Because Clinton is an evil genius. She put Title IV E and D behind Planned Parenthood. It is Title IV for a reason. Because Title IV, the number one Title IV issue with leftists is Planned Parenthood. So when you say Title IV-E, they're not hearing E. They're hearing Title IV. They're hearing you want to get rid of Planned Parenthood. We need to be very careful with our arguments here. Make sure we're starting off with Title IV-E and working back towards Title IV-D, making sure we're not making it a father's issue or a mother's issue. There's plenty of leftists.
Right, yeah, and this is something I got to ask guys, because I deal out here in the real world, and you can, you know how it is on Facebook. You get added to groups, you don't even know you're in the groups. Sure. I've been called out before by father's rights guys, and they'll say, oh, God, he's a member of the mother's rights. And I'm thinking, what? Ridiculous. I didn't even know I was in the group. I haven't been over saying, you know, fathers should all disappear and mothers. It just, whoever calls, you know, injustice is injustice, whether it's a mother or a father. But you know how it works. The kid is like, oh, because I'm father's rights. Yeah, I don't care about the kid. I just got to win. Or the mother is, I don't care. All dads are evil. So if you, now maybe everybody else is not hitting this, but if you say the words parental alienation, because I've had that too, personally. I don't know what else to call it, but if you use that word, there's some people just unfriend you and all of a sudden you're the devil. I have no idea why. I just don't. I think it could work either way, but for whatever reason, women will jump all over you. And then if you say, well, you know, yeah, you're friends with father's rights guys. Oh, my God, then you're going to get slaughtered from the females over here. And then now the new one is the 50-50 thing. I get messaged, what do you believe in 50-50? And I'm scared to answer. You know, my heart tells me, well, I think everything should start out with 50-50. You know, if you were married to Charles Manson or Lizzie Borden, I don't think Charles or Lizzie ought to get 50-50. I don't believe that because they're crazy. They're nuts. You know, the guy's smoking crack every day.
That's why we say presumptive.
Because of smoking crack.
Presumptive.
That's 50-50. Different. But how do you I guess how do you handle the situation when somebody says, oh, if you're for 50-50, because my heart says that's where everything should start as 50-50. It should be a fair situation to start, and it should be not about mothers or fathers. It should be about the children in a family. It should be more around family rights and kids' rights. But how do you handle the 50-50 question?
I can answer.
You bring up a good point. Is I always try to make sure that whenever I'm in dealing with legislators, I never, ever talk about father's rights or even mother's rights. You're exactly spot on. It's always a kid's right to both parents that I always talk about. Because, exactly. You know, people could care less about father's rights. But I don't know too many people that don't care about a kid.
Yeah, if you...
I'm always framing the message in that tone.
If you say... This is the
term
that I've used.
You don't monopolize time. I just wanted to call in and let Philly know I just appreciate everything he's doing. I think the world of him. He and I come from two totally different worlds, but I just am so proud of everything that he's doing.
Yeah, we all are. I'm glad I'm glad Laura reached out with her her British accent or whatever, Australian, wherever it is, she could cuss you out and you'd like it. That's a good voice that she has. She needs to be in there. I mean, she could just take the beating from it. Oh my God, dude. You sissy sorry scoundrel, you old rascal.
She's looking for a co-host position,
you'd like James Bond's secretary gave you a tongue lashing over there. But yeah, I'm glad that we all are making contact with each other. And I guess if it's Kirk down there, I don't know if he's 6513, but I'll bring on 6513. That's somebody that hasn't been unmuted. If you guys said he had a question, 6513, you're unmuted now.
Yep, this is Kirk. Nice to meet you, Randy.
Hey, good to meet you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Silly, sorry. Yeah, I've never watched any of your shows because I've never seen you live, but, we're kind of on the same network there, Future of Our Children, so good to kind of see the face and see what's going on there.
Yeah, Philly made me come out. He said he was coming back out of retirement. Yaya and Neil were coming out of retirement, so I don't want to be the last one out. I want to be in on the victory whenever it happens. So you can expect a show from me every week now.
Right on. Yeah, sometimes we have to take a break, take care of our own personal issues and stuff, so understandable. So what I wanted to kind of put out there was something that Ed promoted our breaking news show here a couple of weeks ago was the Jeff Sessions come out with the smackdown on the rule of law and these guidance documents. So, my studies have been pretty broad when it comes to government and history of law and law in and of itself. And so I basically come to the conclusion, well, wait a minute, if statutes, rules, regulations, and policies are not law, that would all fall under guidance documents because, it's supposed to codify the law or codify the law. So when we're talking about parental rights, where do parental rights come from in law? They come from the common law. So we're not even being heard in the proper jurisdiction. We're being denied the right to due process of law. We're being denied the right to a trial by jury because, the common law dictates that right is to be held equally. And actually, there's something a little different there, but essentially, all rights are supposed to be held equally. And
Kurt,
that's not happening.
It's the same thing with Title 4 D&E. When people hear Title 4 D&E, they automatically think of it's funded by child support, right? But it's not. If you're not on Title 4 D&E if you're paying Family Support Registry, right? You're paying your child support through FSR. In most states, and I believe it is a federal law, that Title 4 D&E is federally. So in a federal, it's just like marijuana here in Denver. Yeah, it's state legalized, but it's not federally. So if you get caught doing something from a federal standpoint, it's still considered a Class 1 substance up against cocaine and amphetamines. But the problem is a lot of people, what they do is they hook Title 4 D&E. The only way you're on Title 4 D&E is if you pay alimony. That's it. You have to pay child support. Like Mark was saying. But Title 4 D&E is only to alimony and maintenance. If you're paying child support, you're not on Title 4 D&E. And a lot of people don't know that. They're like, why pay child support? Well, then your old lady signed you up for Title 4 D&E. No, my old lady didn't. My ex-old lady didn't. Title 4 D&E is only if she's paying alimony. That's when they're taking, for every $1, they take $2 and it goes back to the state.
Right. What I'm actually trying to get.
I agree with what you're saying because you go to domestic court is what they call it, right? For domestic violence, you're going to a civil court. You're not going just like you said, and I agree with you. I don't have a trial by jury whether or not I should get my kids. If I had a trial by jury, we all did, then should I be awarded my children? It's not. It's a trial by that judge. That's it. That's all you get, And I agree with that, and that's a very valid point. Thank you.
This is what I'm trying to bring out is the concept and the idea that these, it's the bar. It's the bar that institutes these statutes. It's the bar that's they're putting this stuff out there. And so, again, back to guidance documents, this is all unlawful. And that's the concept. You know, when somebody says, well, I want to try and pass legislation to make parental rights 50-50, I'm like, but statutory laws, we don't have that right to make statutory law. But the bar is, you know, if we read the Declaration of Independence, in the declared acts of tyranny, it talks about how they've taken over our legislature and decide to legislate for us. This is what we're talking about in the Declaration of Independence, is a declared act of tyranny. So this isn't just family court. This is all of law. They have subverted the law.
This is
statutory.
There's a thing going on, and these particular guys have gotten in touch with me about a month ago on the very subject. And, you know, I like getting out here in the weeds and getting whacked, so I'm researching it. But they're telling me, and these are lawyers and judges, and they said, I can't tell who they are because 22 of their friends are under federal indictment right now because they're fighting just like we are. I just haven't said anything about it. But it's called, and to give you a little breakdown about what Kirk is saying here, it's really in the second article, and it's called, and Jefferson is the one that put it in there, it's called absolute despotism. Now, anytime you're faced with absolute despotism, and the reason Jefferson put it in there is he said if the government gets to the point it's out of control and you have absolute despotism, you not only have a right to overthrow that system, but you should overthrow that system one way or another. The reason that it happened, though, be a duty. And these guys went into it with me, and I'm looking at it, but, you know, the first jury was called for in 1215 in the Magna Carta. 1215, that's 800 years ago. So what they're saying is there is a legal way. Just like when Philly gets his order, they can't change an order, but there's a way, and they're working it out right now, so that order can immediately be sent to a jury. And if the state's not going to call that jury, there is a way to convene that jury, and if that jury overturns that, it will be overturned. Now, I don't know what these guys, they asked me to handle this for the state of North Carolina. I'm still researching it because, you know, sometimes when things seem too good to be true, they are. But I understand exactly what Kirk is saying, because if there were a jury, we might not always get what we want, but I think most of us know I never went to jail on a so-called secret order for 5 months. There was no charge, and I had to file a writ of habeas corpus to get out of there. That would never happen.
Right.
There's no way that Phil would be sitting here and he's paying his support. Somebody's allowed to lie and smear him with his own child and keep him away when he's a good dad. And you know how many times I've sat in court and I watched these other guys that don't care. They're 10 grand behind in child support, and their child support is $52 a damn month. I paid $250,000 in child support. Now, when there's a guy standing there, and they don't even mess with the guy that owes 10 grand that's paying $52 a month. But when they see Philly Slim come in, all they gotta do is Google him, and he's gonna get hit with impugned income. He's gonna get hit with all kind of crazy shit. And it's just a matter of money that I know, and I think we all know, 90% of this garbage wouldn't happen if there was the oversight of a jury of our peers, a true jury, instead of the absolute. I mean, what else do you have when you can be put in jail just because they said to put you in jail? You're gag ordered, so you can't say anything about it. You have no due process. I had a GAL attorney tell me in court, literally, right there while I'm on the stand, Your Honor, if Mr. Davis would forget about he and his daughter Cheyenne's Fourth Amendment rights, this will go faster. I said, are you kidding me? Am I really doing this? And that is exactly what they said. And I said, you know what? And this almost got me locked up. But I said, you know what? Since most of y'all are women and half of you are African American, if we'd forget about the 14th Amendment and the 19th, y'all wouldn't have jobs and half of y'all would be slaves. How about that? Oh, that went over like a fart in church. But until you get to the point where you know if they're going to take me and they're going to put me before the executioner's blade, I'm going to give them the finger the whole way. If I know they're taking it off, there is no way they're going to use me as propaganda to keep the next guy from doing it. And I don't care how it goes down. I'm with Philly, and I'm telling you right now, if something happened to me, I'd call Ted, I'd call Philly, I'd call Neil. You know why? Because those are guys that would show up. I could plaster it all over Facebook, nobody show up. But I bet you right now those guys would. Why? Because they know I'd do the same. Because I've done it before. And that's where we all got to be. So I am really grateful about this show today, and I'm excited about doing the next one. And I think we need to keep doing this and bring every idea to the table, no matter what it is, if it works or if it doesn't work, but it works sometimes. We've got to start hitting every angle that we can and make it more expensive than the current situation is, which is the court has nothing to lose. There's no downside. So I want to make it at least have a downside when they start grabbing Philly's kid or Ted's kid or anybody's child. They need to know that there's a good possibility that they don't win 100% of the cases like they currently do. So I just thank God for you, Philly, and for Laura for
thank you
putting it together, for Ted for being here, Randall, and everybody else that has been on here, Mark, and God bless you all. I'm just glad to be here. So I let Philly, it's your show. I know I stepped all over it, but at least God knocked me off the PC for a little while so you could get yours in there. But I appreciate you, man. I really do. I love you, and I'm glad you all were here. And I'm right here for you. For whoever you know that's here that needs help, I'll be there.
No, thank you so much for having me on, you guys. I appreciate it, Randy and Kurt and Mark and Ted. It was good to speak with everybody and just keep pushing it, keep moving forward, you know what I mean, and helping out every person that we can. But like what's the name was talking about earlier, when you don't have the time and things are going on in your life, you got to come back out. And I'm not out of retirement fully, but I got my new album coming, and I just kind of put everything aside. My album's called 4,000 Days and Counting, if you guys don't mind if I plug that. But it's definitely something that I think is going to hit home to a lot of folks.
I have a song of yours queued up. I have a song of yours. I have a song of yours queued up. If you'd like to end the show with one of your songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you guys want to do. Whatever you guys want to do. I can't wait for you guys to hear 4,000 Days and Counting. I have a record on there. Excuse me. That's really it gets me emotional. But it's called My Side of the Story. It's like my side, and just basically there's three sides to a story: your side, my side, and the perception of things and what the truth is. And so I think that'll really hit home. And then I have another track called It's Not Your Fault. Just telling my children, to hold on. It's not your fault. What's going on, and the mental molestation that you're faced with right now, and the lies and the things. And Randy, I shared with you personally. I don't really share a lot with a lot of people on what's going on with the whole name change and the things that are happening to my son. It kills me, and I have to deal with it every day. And it's always a constant, So I feel where I've been in that place of the Dominic Monticellos and all the other people that have taken their own life, and I've been there in that form of depression. And this is kind of what all comes together with 4,000 Days and Counting. On one side, you want to be a good dad, and you're doing everything you can, and then on the other side, you just want to blow your fucking brains out because you feel like you're up against a monster, and everybody you speak with, everybody has their own story, but everybody deals with it a certain way, whereas I would say most folks make excuses. You want me to do the work for you, I'm not going to do it. I have my own things going on. But if I can generate you to the right outlet, then that's what I'm going to do. But so cue it up. Thank you guys for having me on. God bless, and I appreciate everything and just keep continuing to pass the torch. And all these seeds we're laying out, you know what I mean? Eventually those trees are going to grow. Like my man Donnie Castro says, it might not be in this generation or the next, but one day our children are going to see and have some shade under that tree one day, and we'll all be sitting there, you know, and put this behind us. So keep the faith. We got hope, you know?
Yes, we do.
So hold on.
Rev it up.
Ted, that's your cue.
Yeah, you're waiting on Ted. Ted, I'm holding your check. I'm taking this out of your check for this week.
Oh, shit. His check is from love. It's all with love.
I don't know why it's not going
He's
through.
He's only getting half the love.
Love and passion, man. Passion.
Oh, this is why. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Oops.
Maybe I should turn the volume up. Here we go.
He only gets the LO.
Exactly. You know how all that is. They're going to swear we messed them all up if you don't get this song right, kid. Their cases went down because of Kid Hog.
This is a man
that hog guy.
Whose determination is so great. It's unlike anything else.
We're good now. I don't know if you guys can hear it on the Blog Talk end.
A man whose sole purpose in life.
I think we're supposed to just imagine that we're hearing your song right now.
I think if you're on the Blog Talk end, you might have to. This is Philly Slim, The Battle, Josh Blackburn, official video produced by Trevor Huster.
I have a dream today.
Can you hear it?
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that we're all created equal, but that's not how it seems. Well, Billy's got a vision that's few and far between. Come on.
Are you still live? Yeah, what is it? Whose song is it?
March 26, 2005 was the first time deep inside I really felt alive when I held you in my arms and I looked into your eyes. Being there for you in life, there's no doubt in my mind. I always wanted a family and to do what's right. I never would have imagined that my kids would pay the price. Too many sleepless nights, well I guess that's life. So if you're a real man who ain't afraid to fight, join hands with me and stand up for father's rights. Law-abiding citizen, yeah that was me. In 2006 I got swept off my feet, rubbed through the system with no freedom and no speech. I got me a voice now, so now I'm here to teach. No more four walls, God led me to the streets. Son, it's time to preach. At first you gotta believe the truth will prevail, not only through your speech. Come on.
Tonight about a father fighting for custody of his daughter. Today, Lucas Merkman and other dads rallying for father's rights. Now, earlier this month, we told you Merkman's story. A judge ordered him to hand his daughter over to her mother for unsupervised visits, even though he's convicted of child abuse. Last September, a driver found Merkman's 3-year-old daughter along the road near Arapahoe Road. Her mother was so drunk she had passed out in the grass. Merkman doesn't understand why she still allows unsupervised visits after putting their daughter in danger.
What do you know about protesting all alone for your son? Till you finally get the story heard by Fox 31. Now look at how far I've come. Deadbeat dad, nah, I ain't the one. Lawyer after lawyer, judge after judge, and you wonder why we're pissed off and hold a grudge. You alienate us from our kids, and yeah, that's a fact. Well, this is what happens when real dads lash back. 68 times in court in 1 year. So if you walked in my shoes and we shed the same tears, face the same fears, now I see it's clear. You don't have to do it alone, man. We all here. Every child needs both parents. Why that's so hard to see? Take yourself out of the equation. It ain't about you and me. So if you're a real man who ain't afraid to fight, join hands with me and stand up for father's rights. Come on.
I've ever had to make to give up all rights or just leave it up to fate. In this woman's state, how much more can we fucking take? Feels like the Last Supper, but I still haven't ate. This is one battle that I know I have to fight. I ain't giving up my rights in the CF5. She tried to destroy your lives, so forget your moms and K White. They won't hear me in this court, but they gon' hear me on this mic. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Josh Blackburn.